Okay, well, my clock says 3 o'clock. So, Dr. Patrick, if you would like to get us started, perhaps, I will say welcome. And with the introductions, we'll pass to Dr. P.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. I like the new system. I'll read the names of the work group members here. So if you're present, please unmute and indicate your presence. So starting with Harris County Commissioner Adrian Garcia.
Hey Patrick, you're having some audio problems over there, buddy. You're fading in and out pretty good.
Okay. Is it better now? Harris County Commissioner Adrian Garcia.
It's still very choppy.
Okay, I can quickly hang up and call back if that helps.
That might.
So, well, Miss Martinez, are you here?
Yes, I am.
I guess I'm wondering, in the interest of time, if I just go through and read, and then when Patrick comes back, we'll allow him to click back on.
Yes,
So
that
I'll
sounds good.
confirm that we did not hear a response from Commissioner Garcia. Okay, I, Dr. Carol Lewis, am on. Chairman Patman, Metro.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Wimple, HGAC.
Here, thank you.
All right.
That was a robust here.
Well,
All right. Mr. Douglas, Liberty County.
This looks horrible.
Can you hear? Is the audio okay this time?
I can't hear anything, Carol.
Okay. You can hear me.
I can't hear David, David Douglas.
Can you hear me? You can hear me.
I can hear you
Hear
fine.
me.
I can hear everybody else fine too.
Yes.
Okay, did David Douglas try to respond?
I haven't seen him. No, he's not on.
Okay. Councilmember Robinson? He's here and
I
live,
am
but-
here.
Okay,
I'm here,
good.
Dr. Lewis. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Paul?
Yes, Chairman Lewis, I'm here.
Thank you. Commissioner Prestige, Fort Bend County? Okay. Mayor Zimmerman?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here, Dr. Lewis.
Awesome. Commissioner Beckendorf? Okay, don't hear him yet. Councilmember Milliken?
Present.
Awesome. Judge Keel? Am I hearing a voice for him? Okay, I'm going to say I did not. Councilmember Arnold?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Gunter from Port Houston? Mr. Poppy from Harris County Flood Control?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Representative Thompson? Okay, all right. Could you help me, Ms. Martinez, by going through and let me know? I think we needed probably 7 folks. 8, I guess. Yeah, 8. Did we have 8 responses?
Hold on a second. I think we do. Okay,
all
1,
right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I think we have
7,
I believe you have 9.
8,
You got,
Okay,
9. Yes.
you got a quorum.
all right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, we would be ready to move forward with our agenda.
You are echoing, Miss
I
Dr.
I know.
Lewis.
I know, I think we have a lot of folks who open their microphones to respond.
Yes.
So I think if we could get all those clicked off, I think we would be in good shape. Is this Patrick's screen that we're looking at?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And Roger
so-
Gunther just checked in.
Perfect. All right, do we have the capacity to advance the agenda?
I believe it's time for comments, Dr. Lewis.
Okay,
This is Neely Kim, so I have those ready if you're ready.
please. Ms.
Okay,
Kim,
yes,
go
ma'am.
ahead.
So I have 3 public comments that were made through the email notification. The first one is from Neil Edhart, and this one's brief. I'll read it. It says, I am concerned by the lack of public transparency in the Memorandum of Understanding process. I think it is important for HGAC to post instructions on their website that allow the public to opt in to email notifications when the MOU meeting is scheduled. He said he spoke with Patrick on the phone and suggests adding a web form that the public can use to subscribe to email notifications. I think this would be a great idea, and please prioritize it. Thank you for your leadership on this matter. I look forward to more transparency in the future.
I endorse that. I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Next comment was from Jay Crossley. His is also brief. It says, thank you for this opportunity to submit comments on the draft MOU for the NHHIP. Thank you for the members in the work group for their service to all people in the Houston region. And he submitted a letter that will be placed on the website.
Okay.
I will do that today after this meeting has adjourned. And
Just, may I
then,
ask one thing though? Is there a way to post it now? Is there anything that bears of the MOU today? Because that would be important for us to be able to at least skim it now.
let me pull it back up. Sorry, just one moment.
And perhaps a summary if it's long.
Yes, so let's see.
I can skim it, but I do want to hear from Jay. I mean, that's an important voice.
Yes, and I can post it before the end of the meeting. So it's very long, but let me look here. He basically is going through the MOU and making statements about some of the verbiage. So I'll work with Lucinda. Maybe we can get this out to everybody so you can take a look as you're going through the MOU. Would that work?
I think that would be well. And I did see the comments from Mr. Crosley. I would not want to try to summarize them. I think it was probably 3 pages or so.
Yes.
So it was.
Neely, can you share them on your screen?
I can.
I mean, is that possible?
I think Patrick has to stop sharing first.
Okay.
And it's Patrick. So if let's do this. Let's hold that for just a moment, and we can see if Patrick comes back. In the interim, I would want to answer in the response to the comments that came in from Mr. Earhart, that Patrick did respond to him that there was a sign up meeting notifications button added to the NHHIP project website. So on HGAC's page. So there was a response to that particular request.
Okay.
So do you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Is that, so the screen shows the public comment that was posted on the website. And also the website also in response to the public comment, we have added a sign up button here where people can click and add their information to send that to us to be added to the mailing list for these meetings. So that is also has been addressed on the website.
Okay. The question that arose, Patrick, while you were gone, is if we could put up the comments that came in from Jay Crossley and allow people an opportunity to scan those.
Yes. So
Patrick, I can share those if I believe I can.
So let me go to the public comments box, and I should be able to share that right away, if that is okay.
I have it up, Patrick, if you want me to share it real quick. From Jay Crossley.
From Jay Crossley, okay.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Amanda Popper, this is Grady Prestige. Show me present, please.
Okay. We'll ask
Artie.
Ms. Martinez to do that. Thank you, Commissioner Prestige, for joining us.
So do you all see the comments that came from Mr. Jay Crossley?
Can you enlarge it a bit, Patrick?
Yes.
It would be easier for me personally if I just got it in my inbox
Okay.
and I could look on
Okay.
my iPad and kind of skim it.
Okay. So let's do two things. Let's kind of scroll it, Patrick, and then once that's done, if either Ms. Neely or she could send it to the committee or somehow post it so people could see, that would be appreciated, I think.
Yes, I'll get it out. I'll get that
Perfect.
out, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you so much.
And we typically post all these on the website. These came in last minute, so we'll get them posted today and send a link to all members.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So those are the two comments that had come in written were the first things we had gotten through so far, Patrick. So baton hand back to you, recognizing the two written components had been provided to us.
We also have one more comment, Dr. Lewis.
Yes, please.
This one is from Oni Blair. It's long, but I'll summarize. There were two main points to this. One was in reference for the goals in this MOU should clearly reflect the party's commitment to address the concerns identified by Mayor Sylvester Turner in his May 2020 letter to the Texas Transportation Commissioner, Laura Ryan, which reflect community members' concerns about the project. One, address outstanding adverse impacts outlined in the mayor's document, especially displacement of people and business. Include a decision to halt or withdraw funding should the project fail to address the very real concerns of residents and business owners who live adjacent to the project corridor. Provide ongoing and meaningful engagement with the public. Separate completion of the NEPA process for segment 3 from that for segments 1 and 2. Also referenced here in the comment is the overall document still reads with a lens towards prioritizing vehicle over people capacity. Pursuing an HHIP design that prioritizes people capacity via all travel modes will future the project, especially considering present circumstances. One, traffic volumes on I-45 North have declined since 2010 in segments 1 and 2. COVID-19 workplace impacts are changing the flexibility of work locations in ways that will persist to some degree into the future. Future vehicle technologies, including partial or full autonomy, will facilitate safety improvements while increasing the density and cohesive movement of more vehicles in same amount of physical space. And lastly, traffic volumes, trips taken, and the resulting congestion are driven by human decision-making. Clear bodies of research and local observation of historical projects corroborate the fundamental law of induced and latent demand. Vehicles at peak hour fill roadways based on human decisions. Traffic congestion modeling is a flawed science, and capacity is better thought of as policy decision related to other quality of life goals that are more attainable. And you can see the full comment on the webpage after this meeting.
All right, thank you, Ms. Neely.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I
ma'am.
ask a question? Why aren't these things posted in advance?
Because, well, I can't always say what the 100% are, but on the ones that I know we got today, some of them were just coming in today.
Oh,
And
okay.
so sort of recognize that what HGAC had on its plate was to try to make sure that we had the most current document of the MOU. commensurate with making sure that we got the information from the citizenry.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I don't know that any of them were received yesterday. I think they were, maybe Mr. Ahart's was received
Oh.
yesterday, and that was the one that got the
Taken care
the
of.
response on the
Yeah,
document.
let me just make sure.
Okay, so if we could, I know
How did they go?
I know we've got a lot going on, but if we could make sure that our microphones are muted if we are not speaking, that would, I think, help others to hear better and make us so that we're not sort of listening to two different things, and making sure we're not, you know, someone's not trying to speak and we're not recognizing that. So thank you so much. I know sometimes it's difficult, but sure appreciate it. All right, Dr. P, is there anything, would you like to call for comments of those who did not write but would wish to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair, so we'd like to invite members who did not submit written comments and would like to make a public comment now. So you can, if you're calling in through the phone number, a toll-free number, you could raise hand by pressing *9, or you could unmute here if you're calling in through the online system, and you should be able to, we should receive your public comments in the line that you have raised hand. So we'll look at the participants and see if anybody has raised hand, and invite you in the order received.
So far, I see Harrison Humphreys.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great.
This is Commissioner Garcia. Just want to let you know I'm on.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Good afternoon, working group members, staff. My name is Harrison Humphreys, and I'm with Air Alliance Houston. I'd like to start off by saying I appreciate the time and work y'all put into deliberating this document. And while I recognize you're close to finalizing it, I feel it's important to make some pertinent points given the release of the FEIS last week, and important to note that our organization does not feel the MOU sufficiently addresses core issues of the project design. One of our main objections our organization held with the draft environmental impact statement was the lack of adequate air quality analysis. Notably, TxDOT's analysis concludes the mobile source air toxic levels will remain at an acceptable level on a regional basis. They did not analyze local impacts on the neighborhoods directly adjacent to the highway. Additionally, TxDOT makes the argument that congestion relief could offset increases in pollution levels brought on by highway widening, assuming long-term congestion relief will be maintained, which, as has been discussed several times in this group, is doubtful at best. Finally, they also assume continued improving fuel efficiency standards based on the Obama-era CAFE standards, which the Trump administration is in the process of repealing. The FEIS essentially relies on the same arguments. TxDOT doubles down on nearly all of their original analyses. Their mobile source air toxic claims are still based on a regional analysis, disregarding localized impacts. TxDOT continues to rely on the promise of increasing fuel efficiency to justify a huge increase of VMT. They also continue to posit long-term congestion relief as an indisputable fact, again concluding that adding more vehicles will not harm air quality because they assuredly will be going faster. The point I'm trying to make today is that the project as it is presented in the FEIS is deeply flawed. Air quality is just one aspect of it. And I'm sure I don't have to repeat this, but it does not in any way reflect the wants and asks of communities most affected by it. And unfortunately, we do not feel the current MOU document provides the framework needed to rectify the many flaws in it. The language regarding capacity expansion lends itself to this continuing as a car-centric project focused on expansion at the cost of communities along the corridor. Token language towards preserving community health and monitoring air quality don't count for much when the root of those issues continues unaltered. TxDOT's own timeline on their FEIS white paper shows right-of-way acquisition occurring prior to the detailed design phase, the phase in which TxDOT keeps promising any changes would be considered. The MOU document needs to reflect the mayor's ask, and changes to the core project design need to be made prior to these steps. With that, we hope you continue deliberating this document into a better representation of the community's wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humphreys. So, Mr. Seal, do we see anyone else?
I do not
Okay.
see any. Greg, do you see anyone?
No, sir, that's the last one I've seen. Would you like to make one more invite possibly? We have a lot of people here.
Sure.
Uh,
Go
okay,
ahead,
so we
Dr.
have,
P.
so I see Neil Earhart here if he would like to comment.
Okay, good afternoon, committee. My name is Neil Ehart. I'm a member of Stop TxDOT I-45. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you, Patrick, for quickly getting that email sign up button posted to the MOU page. Amazingly done. Today, I'm asking you to prioritize people over cars. I'm concerned about some language in the draft memorandum in section 3, scope of work. The first bullet reads, quote, all agencies confirm common project goals to increase the facility's capacity for all roadway users, including automobile, freight, and transit, improve multimodal transportation system to accommodate future growth. And it goes on to list more commitments. If we increase the capacity for automobiles on I-45, we are committing to a future where the city of Houston is even more car dependent than we are now. This will bring more traffic deaths, more air pollution, and more urban sprawl. It will deepen our transportation inequality. And I don't believe that's the kind of city that any of us want to create or live in. If we choose to add more cars to I-45, this can only result in one of two outcomes. One, the right-of-way is expanded in direct contradiction to the City of Houston's Vision C, and I will remind the committee that this plan to stay within the existing right-of-way was supported by 60% of people who took the city survey. Or two, a double-decker freeway is built. This will result in extreme cost overruns for this $8 billion project. We don't need to widen the freeway or build a second level to create capacity for more people. The bus rapid transit lanes recommended in the City of Houston's Vision C will be able to carry more people than all of the general purpose lanes that TxDOT proposes to add. So committee members, I'm asking you to please change the language to say people capacity instead of automobile capacity. Please open the possibility for a better freeway configuration. Thank you all for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Ehart.
With that, I'm not seeing any more hands raised.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. P, we perhaps are ready to close out our public comment and agenda items and move on to Roman numeral 3. It's not a Roman numeral, but numeral 3 in our agenda.
Yes, Madam Chair. So I opened, so I have received some information as of this morning. I've sent an email today as well with the most updated information on the work draft. So we have been making additions in blue to the additional commitments section from different parties. So I have received additional commitments from different parties, and those were added. So on the MOU draft, you'll be able to see the green sections that completed the discussion in the previous meetings. And then this blue section is where I have received additional commitments from each of these parties. And I have added those to the working draft of the MOU. So, so if you're okay, Madam Chair, we can start the discussion from this blue section.
All right, that sounds great. What seems to make sense to me is if someone from the City of Houston, Councilmember Robinson, would like to make a statement about what we see here coming from the city's submittal. And thank you for enlarging it for us a bit. I know Councilmember Robinson said he's kind of toddling between two meetings. Are you on now, Councilmember?
I am. I'm going to keep my video off, though, if you don't mind. We have had a number of points of discussion here with the city, and I think if I could, let's see, I guess the commitments are really where we are, Chair, and I am toggling between two meetings, so I beg your pardon if I'm not staying on point here. Could you restate the question for me?
Sure. What we were asking, we're looking at the city's submittal into the MOU, and there
Yes.
are, I don't know about, not real quickly, 9 bullets or so. I just wanted to know if you wanted to make a statement as we look through those. Would it help if we read through those? Would you like that?
I think I need to, yeah, we have got several bullets. I wonder, though, if you would give me a moment.
Sure.
This is a moment of technology challenge for me, I'm afraid.
Okay. Why don't I read through them? There are roughly 9 of them. And
Yes,
just
please.
setting the stage, this is what the city of Houston is committing to as part of the MOU. So provide clarifying information on the request stated in the mayor's letter, participate in developing mutually agreed upon project goals, participate in developing additional designs that meet the mutually agreed upon project goals, participate in confirming methodologies, including traffic modeling for review of new designs, participate in reviewing evaluations of new designs based on mutually agreed upon project goals, participate in confirming mitigation measures to minimize or eliminate impacts to the community, participate in developing collaborative strategies and identifying external partners for requests in the purview of multiple agencies, and facilitate robust public engagement via the facilitation group and other in-person and online strategies. So those are the commitments that the City of Houston will be bringing to the MOU.
Thank you. That's what I meant to say.
All right. So basically, speaks for itself. In other words.
I think that's right. We have some follow-up thoughts, but let's begin with that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. If we could roll to Harris County, Commissioner Garcia.
Madam Chair, thank you. And I think you may have scrolled up a little.
Scroll, right. Go back a little bit. Yes, please.
Yeah. So obviously we want to be a partner, as I've expressed on many occasions throughout this process. And so we have hopefully indicated here through the various elements that we're committed to the success of this project. And I won't read them all, but I do want to just say that these elements that we've added is to, one, direct Harris County to be vigilant to the details. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought my camera was on. To be vigilant with the details that we have been advocating on. And you know, as you see, point number 3, in participating, confirming the methodologies, including the traffic modeling. You know, we want to make sure that we're contributing to mobility, but not necessarily contributing to single occupant vehicles, you know, being a part of the equation. And then, so all these elements are our strong, hard, fast commitments to the success of this project. And I will ask Russ Poppy with flood control to talk about the elements from the flood control district's perspective and their contributions.
Okay. Is Mr. Poppy on? I don't know that he responded when we went through the the role.
He was on, Carol.
Good.
Dr. Lewis,
Okay.
he was
Awesome. Oh, awesome. Mr. Poppy, great.
Yes,
Would
Madam
you like
Chair.
would you like to walk through your components here, please? I apologize that I didn't see you earlier.
That's great. I'm going to take the same lead as my commissioner did and not read all of these, but rather summarize our intent by saying, you know, I-45 corridor crosses several of our main watersheds, Little White Oak Bayou, Halls Bayou, and several of their tributaries. And as TxDOT and the city and others contemplate improvements not only to the highway for transportation purposes, our focus is obviously on the drainage purposes. And because of the interconnections that exist there, as well as some other improvements that are being contemplated at the local drainage level, both by the city and TxDOT, and we would like to offer to sort of be the keeper of those models, because ultimately all that water, whether it's in a roadside ditch or a storm sewer that we don't maintain, but it ultimately drains to us, impacts our plan. And so what we'd like to bring to the table is sort of be that one centric piece that contains all that information and appropriately accounts for it in our designs and what we're ultimately planned forward in these watersheds as we look to improve regional conveyance and storage to reduce people's flood risks.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. If we could scroll, thank you. So,
and of course, I'm here and available to answer any questions.
Perfect. TxDOT, Eliza, Ms. Paul.
Madam Chair, Metro is in between.
Oh, Metro's next. I'm sorry. Chairman Patman.
Thank you so much. I think that these really speak for themselves. And if there are any questions, I and Tom Lambert, and I believe Tom Jason has been able to call in too, can answer them. But you know, they're pretty self-explanatory. And we certainly want having the voters having passed by basically the bonding authority to implement Metronext. Obviously, a key facet of our comments have to do with making sure that the will of the voters, to the extent anything overlaps with the NHHIP, are put into effect. So happy to answer any questions.
All right. Right now, Ms. Paul, TxDOT's submittal.
Hi, Carol. I just want to, I think the first bullet point, we had it in there originally. We'll commit to what's contained in the FEIS statement on the I-45 and HHIP. And then the next bullet, we talk about we're going to have continue to have meaningful engagement with the public as the project develops. So this continue throughout the life cycle of the project. The third one, we talks about we are committed to judiciously identifying win-win opportunities to make the project reflect collectively best efforts by the MOU parties. So we didn't put a lot of bullet points on there because we still have the contention from day one that we don't think the MOU is absolutely necessary. TxDOT will coordinate with all the different parties and collaborate with all the different parties on the ongoing efforts of this project, and we'll continue to work with everybody on that. So we're committed to continue engaging with everybody, the public, to try and get a win-win project for this corridor. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay. HVAC's components, Dr. P or Mr. Wemple, which of you are going to talk through?
Dr. Lewis, maybe I could just start and then Patrick could fill in with the details. We won't read all the bullets. It's a very long section. These commitments have been in the document from the beginning and have been through a number of reads by all of us. They've also been discussed and in many cases included in actions by the Transportation Policy Council. So the commitments stand as previously presented. And then Patrick, if you wouldn't mind perhaps just a high level walkthrough of them, not in detail, but high level, would be much appreciated.
Thank you, Chuck. So these are same bullet points that we have on the Transportation Policy Council resolution back from July of 2019. This includes a commitment of $100 million for the segment 2 of the NHHIP, additional planning project of $1.5 million on the community planning activities surrounding the communities, in the communities surrounding the NHHIP. not only including the multimodal options, bicycle pedestrian paths, also lighting, signage, transit stops, and looking at any historical or cultural identity issues of the affected neighborhoods. Air quality is a big component in here. We're looking at options to improve air quality, reduce truck idling, and looking at, through our Clean Vehicles program, looking at options to purchase some school buses if we can, and also do additional air quality monitoring to set the base and also continue to monitor the air quality in the neighborhoods around the North Houston Highway Improvement Project. And also the commitments that were included in here as part of the planning project that will be kickstarted this year. We'll identify some of the infrastructure improvements to look at the community enhancements and transportation improvements within the neighborhoods, and try to identify those improvements and also work towards infrastructure projects within those neighborhoods as well to improve mobility, multimodal mobility within neighborhoods.
Okay. All right, thank you. With that, let me open it up for our committee to have comments on anything that they've heard or thinking at this point.
I do have some thoughts, but just when appropriate.
It is now appropriate, yes.
Well, one thing is on the TPC commitments, I would love, if appropriate, to see a reference to MetroNext, because it is in fact in the long range plan. And I think it would be very appropriate to put in there a bullet point that says working to or supporting the goals and projects contained in MetroNext to the extent they overlap with the NHHIP, something like that. I should have come prepared with language, but
that was probably close.
That's basically it. If nobody objects, I'd love to add that in there.
Madam Chairman, this is Mrs. Zimmerman. Could you modify that to the extent they apply to NHIP?
Yes, that's a better formula. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then the one other comment I have is, well, I'll let others speak first to the text dot comments. But the one concern that I have, well, I'll go ahead. The one concern that I have about this is perhaps some of you are more on top of it than I, read faster than I do, but I'm not sure any of us, I certainly have not, have had time to thoroughly read and digest the FEIS. And to limit TxDOT's commitments to the FEIS before we have had a chance to digest what those commitments are, I'm just wondering if anybody else has any concern about that.
Madam Chair, Patman, I do have major concerns about that. I mean, this is an incredibly voluminous document, highly technical. And so again, as I started my points that Harris County is all in. We're both feet in. We want this project to be successful. And I hope that the collective commitment and detail between Harris County and the Flood Control District speaks to, although I've got concerns that I'm expressing, I'm a little taken back to the limited disclosed commitment by TxDOT. It's almost a commitment and protest, if I can say it that way.
Okay. Others? I think we have probably at least 10 of our committee on the phone. Other thoughts?
Madam Chairman, a little
Yes,
bit
yes,
with all
ma'am.
respect to Commissioner Garcia. I think TxDOT, as I understand the agency, they are actually limited to their final environmental impact statement. I think when you look at the next two statements where they have meaningful engagement with the public as the project develops, and to identifying win-win opportunities to make the project reflect collective best efforts by the MOU parties, which references directly back to those commitments from the City of Houston and Harris County and Metro and Harris County Flood Control District. So I think even though it is short and only, 3 succinct statements, it has a much broader impact than those 3 statements. So I'm comfortable with what they've written. I mean, I think for all of us, the reason that we had the work group was to one, broaden the overall intent so that everybody understood that, to give the background, substantive background, if you will, and then to get commitments via an MOU of the different areas that the governmental agencies were willing to play in or participate in, is probably a better word. And I think they've done, as I've read through it, and I've read through it several times now, I think that document is broad enough to capture all the opportunities, I think. And now I think it's incumbent upon to take the commitments from the agencies, blend that with the final environmental impact statement, and begin the good work of what's the project going to look like moving forward. So I'm satisfied that we've captured that. I think HGAC is the other party that I forgot to mention, which is a critical component of this, which is, you've got all the parties at the table and you've got everybody's attention. And I think we've all agreed that we need to expand the solution to include a better effort at capturing the public's concerns. And that's where we sit now at the table, is for the various entities now to, put pen to paper and execute the commitment of the different governmental bodies, and then get to the business, which is to work out the details.
Well, yes, and
oh,
You're on mute.
Chairman, you
Chairman.
actually hit your mute button. You hit your mute button. We started, well, you could hear you at the beginning. No, right.
Or somebody hit it.
Somebody hit it.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
TxDOT hit it.
Gar and Jim's in the background. He was hitting the button.
yeah, probably he would love to have a mute button for me, my husband. But the problem, though, is that the FEIS talks about the current design. And this is all about, first of all, the partners have requested substantial changes, not even necessarily Metro, because we've collaborated on the footprint and all of that to limit the HOV, which I still worry about a little bit, because HOV lanes that are regular HOV lanes, not just bus rapid transit, are also a form of transit. But my hope is when all of the studies are done about the usage of the lanes, which has not yet happened yet, that we'll be justified in having both lanes and regular HOV lanes in addition. But, there are two different, you've got phase 1, 2, and 3, and the FEIS describes the commitments related to the current design. And so I just, feel like it's insufficient to talk about the concerns about the new designs to be evaluated and the deference to the community's input into this. And it doesn't take into account Commissioner Ryan's letter too. I mean, that sort of fleshes out some of the ways this might be approached. So those are my thoughts. I'm worried about, and you know, not having a chance to something that says TxDOT's commitments are contained in the FEIS when nobody's had a chance to fully read and digest the FEIS seems a little premature. Maybe we would all read it and digest it and go, well, actually, this is sufficient for the other two bullets, but nobody's.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair and Chairman Patman, if I could maybe weigh in on this just a little bit from the city's perspective.
Please.
Yeah, just I think wanted to start and thanks to you, Chairman Lewis, for reading the city's concerns and commitments. But it, you know, now that we're all sort of out and showing our hand, it does seem a little disproportionate what TxDOT has offered. And while I agree with Chairman Patman that I have had no opportunity this busy week to read fully through this, you know, long and impressive FEIS document, which I'd like to understand, since it is something that's being pointed to in this process that is critical for the commitment. But beyond that, I think the city's identified a few things that might be additional elements that seem consistent with the language they've used, for instance, from Commissioner Ryan's letter to Mayor Turner. And in particular, with regard to that letter of August 4th, you know, a little under 2 months ago, she referred in phase 1 to TxDOT will provide an assessment of those requests that it clearly has within its purview to implement. That seems like a really tangible, concrete, pardon the metaphor, way to put some language that is reflective of our regional leadership and TxDOT in general. And then in phase 2, it speaks about, at the end of that paragraph, identifying collaborative strategies, committing to a defined process for the review of additional design alternatives, and defining a timeline for doing so. And then perhaps third and last in the phase that Commissioner Ryan describes, we've got in phase 3, TxDOT will focus on the design requests that need more time to evaluate. Those all seem extremely reasonable, sensible, and you know, I think the city wants to highlight those as possible additional items that TxDOT would commit to in this MOU document reflecting their leadership.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if, are there any other comments?
Yeah, Chairman Lewis, can I say something? This is Eliza.
Sure.
Well, in looking at everybody's comment and I mean, and thank you. I mean, every agencies have put in a lot of the comment and we read through it, we looked at it, and I think every agency has a right to commit on what they want to commit, and we did not want to change or look at each of the commitment of any of the agencies. You know, I respect each agencies have their own commitment on this project that they think is appropriate and what they want to put into this MOU document. But on the TxDOT side, when we look at our commitment, the items, there's a lot of information, as everybody has pointed out. There's numerous information that is in the FEIS document. Okay, and currently that is really what the only thing that TxDOT can commit to at this stage in the environmental, you know, as far as commitment is concerned. But TxDOT is continuing to, and the next two bullets, we talk about continue to engaging with the public on the project develops. And I also mentioned that that is throughout the entire lifetime of the project. And then the other thing is we committed to judiciously identifying win-win opportunities to make the project reflect collective best effort. Those are languages straight out from the, James Bass' letter of reply, okay, on this project. So you're saying include the Commissioner Ryan's letter of commitment in the City of Houston letter, but the City of Houston letter is really not the only things that you are asking for. You know, that there additional information. So we open it up in the 2 bullets that will continue to engage with everybody, with the public. We're continually going to find a win-win opportunities instead of trying to specifically put down what we're going to engage in each of those design elements or anything and all that, which currently we're not able to commit at this point in time in writing.
So I think all of that is understood. I think across the past weeks, Eliza, we've had a lot of opportunity to kind of embrace and understand your concern about not committing to anything before this record of decision, commensurately with your verbal commitment to continue to work with the team as we get to whatever win-win is. If you kind of back up a little bit, it kind of reminds me, looking at the first bullet and I know because I've done these documents, you do them and you know what's in them. But I think the point Chairman Patman made, which honestly was the first thing I thought when I read it, is that when we look at the commitment of what's in the NHHIP, I've actually looked at the NHHIP, but I can't pull out what those commitments are. I know you know exactly what they are, right? Because it's your document, you've probably reviewed it, I don't know how many times. But for those of us who go in and kind of read it for the first time, or even the second time, you know, you kind of see something different every time you read it. So to pull out exactly what you're referring to on that bullet is difficult for those of us who, you know, haven't sort of memorized and slept with that document. And I'm saying it because I've done those, and I know you go to bed and it's like that thing is under your pillow. So I get it, right? But for the rest of us, it would help us a lot if you could even pull from that document the 1, 2, or 3 points underneath it that you mean. So that would be really helpful for us going in, because we don't know exactly what TxDOT means when you write that. And then there, quite frankly, there's some things in the FEIS that once the record of decision is made and we actually start working on the win-win, that those aren't things you would commit to anymore. So those would not be somehow under that umbrella of what you're actually committing to as a part of this memorandum of understanding. And I guess the other thing I want to kind of put out there is that the reason we even started off doing this was because we had so many people, you know, coming to TPC, writing us about this project. And then all of the correspondence that we got from the City of Houston and Mayor Turner and Harris County, you know, and others about the project. And so while TxDOT feels confident about going forward with this, everybody else would feel a little more confident if we've got this document sort of guiding the TPC, so that when TPC is asked to look at this later on, we're going to have these quarterly updates. So when we have a quarterly update that comes to TPC, I, for one, at the table, am going to be looking at what we've listed in this MOU to see if we're meeting what we've got in the MOU. And it's going to be hard if we're kind of not sure about what's under that first bullet for TxDOT. So if I could kind of get you to think about it a little differently than maybe you were thinking about it, this being, you know, something that TxDOT is committed to doing this, yes. But for all the rest of us who are going to have to be looking at it and making decisions, you know, and suggestions going through on a quarterly basis as we see the improvements, and even later when it comes to the TPC for a vote, you know, what TPC is going to be looking for would help a lot if you could help us to better understand what you have under that first bullet.
Madam Chair, could I also suggest maybe a path for Eliza? I think the first bullet point that is there in their detail that we're looking at, can you maybe expand on that, Eliza, a little bit? Tell us what specifically you're referring to in that, again, considering the length of the document and the, the number of ways that those might be read or interpreted as the chair has suggested.
Well, and that is why we went ahead and just put the final environmental impact statement in there, because there's just so much information in there that in our commitment in doing some of the stuff, and when Chairman Lewis is saying that some of the commitments may or may not carry through, some of them will, whatever we put in the commitment in the FEIS, we are going to commit to carry it through, and there's going to be a lot of commitments that will continue throughout the lifetime of the project. Granted, if the design changed and whatever that commitment is, it doesn't apply, then maybe there will be a different commitment, based on the modified change and design and all that. So, but to try and make the process easier, and we realize that that there is a lot of volumes of document in the FEIS. TxDOT has actually come up with some what we call position papers and white papers that we have actually sent out at the same time when we posted the FEIS. There was about 10 or 12 different position papers, and each of the position papers actually address a main topic in the FEIS. For example, flooding. Flooding is described in one of the position papers. The housing impact displacement are described in another position papers, and aesthetics elements are described in another paper, and bayous and different elements of it. Why the freeway was built the way that it is.
I don't want to interrupt, Eliza, but I'm holding these things in my hand, and they're equally long as they are impressive. I mean, they're really rich documents that I want to pour over, but they landed on my desk literally less than 48 hours ago. And, they have wonderfully interactive QR codes that take you to models that you and your team have put together, and, photographs and enhanced animated modeling. I mean, it's truly, truly impressive. That's where the lack of specificity in a boiled down kind of executive summary, which is kind of what the commitments, I think, of the other 4 agencies are providing, leaves at least the city of Houston with a sense that this is, let me say, incomplete.
Well, so I think what that Eliza, I think what that shows is the depth and breadth of information you all have and that you've developed. And so what we're asking for here, so I guess I'm saying we recognize you can't put all of that into this MOU, but could you come up with something that you could? So for instance, Councilmember Robinson first asked about the points that are already written in commitment, both I would say by Commissioner Ryan and by Executive Director Bass. So he sent something, he sent a letter also. So if you could just even pull the points that those 2 officials made and kind of plop them in here, that would probably help as well to give us a little more definition than the 45 pages David was holding up and the 300 or so pages in the whole FEIS that we're sort of being asked to go through and maybe try to highlight what that might be. So,
and I think that, there are 12 of these brochures, I think, as Eliza mentioned, each one compelling and interesting, and maybe all 12 would be, on top of what Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Bugg's letters contain, but to maybe outline what these 12 things are with a link so that those who are reading this online might be able to connect electronically to what we now have physically here, saving everyone a lot of paper and reproduction costs, obviously. But this, I mean, it really is impressive information, Eliza. So I'm excited to get through what's been a very busy week to pour into this. And I have had a chance to get into a number of these things, and you know, it's really pretty awesome.
So,
Well,
so
and
you all are making a lot of commitments, and I guess the point we're trying to make here is for us to be able to see some of that in that first bullet without having everybody having to go fish it out and ferret it out and figure it out, if that makes any sense at all.
well, I don't think English major was my strong point here. If it was, then I wouldn't be an engineer. I would probably be something else. So there is a lot of information in the FIIS and in those position papers, and I really don't want to do any misjustice to it, or I don't want to just list certain items and then miss other items, because people are going to say, oh, you're not doing this, you know, because there's just so much information that I mean it would take me a long time, like those position papers, to list them all out, and that's the reason why we put it's included in the FEIS, and it is online, the whole document plus all the position papers.
Oh, we know.
On the I-45 website. Anybody can go in there and look at all that information in there.
Plus more. I mean, that's not all there is there. There's a lot there. So let's go kind of back to if you all could just pull a couple of statements from Commissioner Ryan's letter, Commissioner Bass's letter, Executive Director Bass's letter, and even refer to the position papers as a part of this particular MOU. I think that would help us much. Ms. Patman?
And one lawyer's trick is the phrase including but not limited to, you know. So you could list, say, several key commitments that are designed to address the reason we're all here, which is the community concern, which TxDOT has been very, very receptive to, and list some things like that, and then say including but not limited to. One other point that I wanted to add to what the chairwoman said is you could also read it and different people could have different views, come away with a different perspective on what the commitment is. And those of us that, I was a political science major, so that tells you I don't know anything about either English or engineering. And get me with that document, and heaven knows what I would interpret. And so your interpretation, Eliza, and the one of TxDOT would really be, we just need to know it, I think. You're a victim of your own success in creating this phenomenal document.
Well, and that's why we always trying to tell everybody the MOU really need to come after the FEIS is posted and give everybody a chance to read it and look at the document and look at what we have committed in there. I mean, I won't do it any justice by using my limited knowledge in English language to try and list the items. You know, I mean, I won't be able to because there's just too many in there. So, and it's all in the FEIS. It's all in there, so that one sentence really address everything that's in there, whether you go look for it in the position paper or whether you go look for it in our summary or where you go look for it in some of our summary is several pages long. You know, it's not something that I can just summarize. It's not good. It's not going to be right. You know, I can do. Not limited to and all that, but I'll try and go back and look at those letters and everything. The letters was really just an attempt to do certain things that was asked of us. And then we have a plan to address what was being asked of us. You know, there's no specific commitment in there per se. It's just a process saying that this is what we're going to do to go through and investigate the ask in there. There's no real commitment to do the work, but there's really no commitment like the commitment that is actually shown in the FEIS.
Understood. So let me ask this: if you know, Patrick or Ms. Neely could pull the letters that we have from Commissioner Ryan and have you look at a couple of just sentences that we could put in from that letter and see if you would be comfortable with that, would be all that we would sort of ask maybe today. And then of course, if you would like to add a bullet about referencing the position papers, I think that would be awesome. And then if you want to, over a couple of days, look at the language again and then think about something akin to what Chair Patman has suggested in terms of a sentence that has the including but not limited to phraseology.
We can go back and try and look at that and come up with some language based on those letters. I mean, I don't really want to pour through it and waste everybody's time to kind of belabor it, to try and pick and choose and pick out what needs to be added and not added. We can go back and take a look at that.
Okay, I think we would appreciate that. Now, this is our last meeting, technically. So I think we wanted to try by the end of this meeting to have general consensus about what we're looking at in terms of the MOU. Then having that document go back and we'll ask Dr. Patrick to describe that more fully. But in order for us to do that, I kind of would like to see head nods that when Eliza goes back and pulls in a couple of bullets from the commissioner's letter, Executive Director Bass's letter, and then if they choose to reference the links to the position papers, that once we have a little more clarity on that first bullet, that we have something we would be ready to send to the agencies for their signatures. So I'm going to kind of pulse that out there and see what people think. Okay. Let me ask. We'll come to Chair Patman in just a second, but I want to ask the other members of the committee that may have not had an opportunity to say something or may kind of be flipping all this around, what your reaction is to what I had sort of suggested. Okay.
Well, since no one else is asking, Madam Chair, if I might wonder out loud, I understand this was intended to be the final meeting, but given the importance of TxDOT's edits and the importance of our looking at some of these recently circulated materials, whether we might, hope for a shortened next meeting wherein we could do the refinement that is, I think, a reflection of the summary that you've said. It seems like we are very close now to being done with this, but for, considering our close working relationship, both currently, historically, and in the future with TxDOT, this is, I think, a pretty imperative point for the city of Houston. I wouldn't want to jump the gun at this. Jump the gun is not the right. We've long since started the race, but I wouldn't want to call it done until we are really done.
Okay. Others?
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
will add my comments, and I completely agree. I think we still have some work in front of us, and I appreciate, Liza, your willingness to look at some items to add and expand, make TxDOT's commitment a little bit more robust. Because look, at the end of the day, Russ is not an elected member, You are not. But we all are serving a public purpose. And at the end of the day, the community has got to look at this, no matter the entity, and demonstrate that we've heard that their engagement. We always say we want to know what the public says. The public has been pretty loud, in my opinion, and I think we have an obligation to show them that we have heard and that we're challenging ourselves. And so I appreciate you, Liza, on your willingness to revisit the text dot section and see what more can be brought to the table to demonstrate that we are all listening to the folks that we are all obligated to serve, whether we're elected or not. So I appreciate that. And I do agree with Councilmember Robinson that we should extend our timeline to allow us to continue to work towards that goal.
Okay. Other voices, other thoughts?
This is Grady Prestige.
Okay.
This is a exercise that's worthy of some young student planner thesis.
Really, I concur.
Really an exercise in collaboration and cooperation. I haven't said much because we had enough expertise fully engaged. So I've been taking a lot of notes and because I hope the hell that I'll have to encounter this kind of situation again. So, but this is great, and I'm proud of the work that everybody's doing.
Okay. So just on that comment, not just a student paper, I've actually recommended it to the Transportation Research Board in Washington as a case study that they should come and investigate and look at how, you know, public sector works both with a true citizen engaged process along with the public agencies to get to a consensus end. So
and without a single fist fight. Okay?
Without a single fist fight. We might see
the day's not over yet.
So far.
You might see some big nationally now renowned researchers coming in here to make this a template for others to follow. So indeed, thank you. Okay, others? Yes, please.
Okay, sorry, just.
No, it's fine. Yeah, go ahead, Chair Patman.
But I also would like us all to take a look at and consider the comments that were raised today by Neil Ehart, Jay Crossley, and Ani Blair. Since we're meeting again, let's take a look at those, just as we're going to take a look at the FEIS and see if we think we're in good shape with those concerns or if we need to heighten them. I think that the overall thrust of this MOU really is to maintain community involvement and to be very respectful and inclusive in the process of all of these comments. So, but I would like us all to not only consider the FEIS, but those additional comments.
Okay. Other thoughts? Okay. Well, we may be on the verge of ending. Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I could make a comment, and Patrick could certainly walk us through the timeline. We will need to be considerate if we are going to take a little extra time, emphasis on little and or short time, to work on this and then convene the next meeting. Because if we are going to maintain our goal of getting this to the Transportation Policy Council in November, after having gone out to all the bodies for review, we'll need to keep it pretty tight on the time frame.
So I thank you for that, because that was actually flipping all that in my head and about to ask our committee members with our busy schedules if people would be as fluid and flexible as possible when you get the request for the next time we might meet, knowing that some people are on two or three different platforms right now trying to balance everything, but ask if we could actually do that. And I also say we could go ahead and end early to give you a little extra time today, recognizing that we will potentially come together again. And who knows, it might be even again thereafter. So any closing comments?
I think we should get after it real soon, Madam Chair, and I don't know, we'll work it into next week. We'll figure out,
Yeah.
we'll make time.
Okay.
I would propose that we meet in a week.
I was going
to be able to maintain the timeline.
Yeah, I was going to add to please read the FEIS and read the position papers, because there are a lot of information in there. And that's what we trying to point out, that really needs to come before the MOU. So that there's a lot of information in there.
But let me, yeah, I was
there's a
gonna
lot
say
there's a lot of information to digest,
right.
A lot of work to be done. But if we don't meet next week and we spill into the week after, I am confident that we will not be able to go to November TPC, and we'll be looking at December, which can be hard to make that meeting because of the end of the year and holiday season and everything else. And this could have a cascading effect. So if we are going to do this, as we're saying, I really think we need to meet next.
I mean, we're at the 1st of October and you're talking about the November TPC meeting. So why would we have to meet next week to make the November TPC meeting? I'm just curious.
The next step would be for parties to take it out to their respective agencies and have it reviewed before it goes to TPC.
Oh.
So we want to build in at least 3 weeks. So we were ideally going to build in a month for Metro and all the other signatory parties to take it back. Now we've all talked about it. We have to take it back to our council, legal parties. So we want to, if we're going to make it by November, we want to allow a month for that. And so we're starting to erode that. We're starting to erode that month a little bit. So that's
the companion piece, Chuck, is that before it goes to TPC, it goes to TAC. And so the TAC meeting is, I guess, the 3rd Wednesday in the month. So that mail out is a couple of weeks before, at least 10 days before.
Yeah.
So that takes you all the way to the beginning of November before you're sending out and posting your notices on your meeting agenda.
Yeah. I think the original schedule that Patrick had developed was to take the month of October for that review by all parties once we came to consensus here, to then take the final draft back for that review so we could make those other deadlines. I think we can still do it, but it's going to compress that review time a bit, which is why I'm just encouraging that we don't lose the momentum and perhaps focus more on compressing our current task as far as time goes, as opposed to allowing too much time.
So
Chair, on the TAC involvement, this is a Transportation Policy Council work group. So if this work group wishes to advance this document to directly advise TPC, that can be done. We don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to go back to TAC.
Go to TAC.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So even without the TAC, we were looking at that 1 month to be able to make it to TPC with ample time. So
might it also be possible for some of our teams to engage right now in the legal review, really to tee that up? We've got much work ahead, and if we could maybe possibly accelerate some of the review, that might take some pressure off the end game.
I mean, to me, that would be your call, right? Not a call from here. So, it's up to you. So, I want to kind of round back to this, Eliza, because I think we all will look at those position papers and we all will look at the FEIS, but that will not help us in putting down the extra bullets or understanding what TxDOT is bringing to the table here. That must come from you. And I don't know if you could get it around a little bit before whenever we have the next meeting so that we can look at it before we actually get on the platform. That would be probably helpful a little bit, because that's, as far as I would kind of tell, that's the one thing that we'll be looking at in the next meeting. I don't think we're going to be looking at a lot else. There may be some things from the comments that came from the constituency who sent in things that we might want to consider, but I think the main component to a degree is going to be that particular element. If we could kind of get that wrapped up.
Yeah, I'll try and get it sent before the next meeting, whenever that next meeting is. When
Right.
we set that up.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, great. Thank you. So Chuck was suggesting maybe 1 week from today, Thursday at 3. So at this point, and don't put anything else on your calendar, next week, Thursday at 3. And I guess if there is something there, there is. But we'll see when Ms. Martinez sends out the notice how that circles for us. But so far, if you could just go ahead and sort of tentatively block that, that would be well. Okay. All right. All right. Anything else for the good of the order, as they say?
Looks like Chair Patman had a
I
question.
do.
Yes. Yes.
I am wondering about a public meeting in terms of TxDOT's commitment to the MOU working group. I mean, what would be the benefit of letting the public be part of this process, from the TxDOT standpoint? What do you think, Eliza? Well, I definitely think we ought to have a public meeting of this group. I mean, why don't we have we're talking about TxDOT's comments.
Why don't we have it? I'm sorry to interrupt. After we have the MOU, we're going to have quarterly update and all that. I mean, this is not. I mean, it's not public commitment. I would say it's TxDOT's commitment. So let us have the chance to go through it and put stuff down, and then I think then we can have the public engagement after that, if that's what the party wants to do.
I wasn't clear on what I was talking about. I expressed it. I wanted to get the group's temperature on something I really think would be a good idea, and that's another public meeting of this group, because now we have everybody's comments, and TxDOT is going to submit or somewhat revised comments, trying to distill, as David Robinson put it, I thought so beautifully, a very rich document into which an enormous amount of work is gone. And they're going to distill that so it's more understandable to the public and to us, really, what they see as the commitments that are responsive to the public needs. And so I'm just wondering about another public another public meeting of this group, just so they feel fully engaged, since the whole point of this process.
I would agree.
Do you mean a different group than our current process where we have public comment and people can listen in? Or?
Well, I just mean that we have, have a wide-ranging. I mean, I don't know. I think we need, after everything is finalized, I think we need, or from our standpoint, we need a meeting where people can come in and comment publicly, so that they feel that they've really been involved in this MOU process.
So you mean after the next one, have an opportunity?
Yeah.
That we're saying, okay.
Yep, I would agree.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Because I wasn't understanding either exactly. All right, thank you.
I just wanted to note that all work group meetings are open to public. Now there's always opportunity to open it up and invite wider range of public and do more outreach to invite people. But just wanted to emphasize that all these meetings are open to public.
But I guess what I heard, let me tell you what I think I heard, because I was trying to process what I was hearing too. But I think at the end of it, what I heard is that there's a meeting where all we do is put up the MOU as it is, and we have nothing to say per se, but then it's just our opportunity to hear what people are saying about the MOU as we've designed it. That's what I was hearing, I think.
Yes, after the next meeting, which is going through the TxDOT comments. So two more meetings is what it sounds like. Is that correct, Chair Patman?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
This is Councilman Milliken. What are we visualizing that meeting to be? What is it looking like? I mean, with COVID and the restrictions that we have, how is that meeting? How does everybody visualize that meeting happening? I
Oh,
mean,
it's definitely on Zoom. It's not in person.
additional, then again, getting back to Patrick's comment, is that additional than what we've had now as far as
So me personally, I don't know what we expect to hear that we haven't heard, but I guess it just opens one more time for people to say those things, looking at the completed document. So I guess it's an opportunity. The opportunity so far has been people commenting on the piece as we work on it. So the final thing would be working on the piece as it's finalized and we're presenting it. I guess that would be my read of what we're doing. But in terms of the formatting, it's nothing different than what we've done to date. Because this is just me, but I'm not going out in public yet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was my question too. I'm sorry, that was my question too. How is that public meeting going to be different from what we have been doing, and how are we going to address those public comments if there are any public comments? Are we going to go back to the beginning and start all over again? I mean, if there were comments on, I mean, we went through what, 5 meetings or 4 meetings to come to the point where we're at today, and I really don't know how that public meeting is going to add or included in the process. I'm just not understanding it. That's all I think.
Madam Chair.
A couple of components to it as I'm thinking about it. It would be a virtual meeting with the finished MOU with an opportunity for public comment. Now, we've had piecemeal parts of the MOU and people are making comments based on an incomplete document. And for the public to feel fully satisfied, I was just thinking we needed the completed MOU put before them with public comment. And yes, if there's something we end up wanting to change, we can have a meeting and change it or clarify it. It also gives an opportunity to be clarified. The second thing that really does have to happen is we have to make sure that the Zoom capability works. If people are going to be coming in and everything, and we've had problems with that, and I think some of it's been Zoom and some of it's been the weather and some of it just may be that the internet stability at HGAC, I don't know, isn't what it needs to be. But whatever we do, we must have it where people are able to actually make their comments. And I know we all agree with that. So that's just my thought on it.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I agree. And look, the Commissioner's Court, even though I'd like to go to bed at a decent hour, we have had midnight meetings, and it's the job. It's the job. And I think that, do I expect us to have to rework all this? I hope not. Is the public owed an opportunity for a final weigh-in with us believing, I think collectively, that we have a finished product? I think so. And will that change anything? I don't know. But should we be afraid of doing it? Absolutely not. And so, and I think the Chairwoman Patman said it extremely well. Actually, I think it was you, Dr. Lewis, that we got here by virtue of public outcry. And this whole process that we have gone through is because of public outcry. Now, my only commitment is to keep an open mind. I have tried to do that throughout this entire process. So I'm going to go, if we do have a public meeting, I'm going to go in with an open mind. and I will defend with the commitment that Harris County and flood control have made. But if they challenge Harris County in particular to add more to the equation, I'm going to be open to it. I really am. And will it make flood control frustrated? Maybe. That's for me to deal with. Will it make the county judge frustrated that we are not finished yet? Maybe, but I'll deal with it. But it is my commitment as a public servant responsible for public entities being paid for by the public's money. I think the public always has deserved an opportunity to participate with us hand in hand.
All right. All right. So if we could, and I'm going to take sort of position as chair to try to keep us on the November TPC. So that would say that, in my mind, we establish the next meeting of the committee to go through the inputs from TxDOT, the comments that we got from the citizenry to see if there's anything we want to revise before it goes then to the agencies. I would say that we're going to ask the agencies to stick to whatever timeline you all have, Patrick and Chuck, and that we sort of tentatively identify a meeting for that public session, a time and date for that public session. And then whatever dates you all need to get it on the public notification for the November TPC.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Mayor Zimmerman.
So we've done, I think Eliza's committed to doing some additional work on TxDOT's piece. The other, City, Houston, Harris County Metro, Harris County Flood Control, the other agencies are really, their commitment is as it is. So what are we going to accomplish other than reviewing TxDOT's additional commitment by another, a separate public meeting other than the one that we have? Isn't the time for that commentary when those agencies, for example, when Commissioner Garcia and the Commissioners Court take up the approval of their commitment and the document? Same for the City of Houston with the mayor and their commitment. The same with everybody that's a signatory to this. Isn't that the appropriate time for, if there are comments specifically from the public, I presume they're going to be based on people's commitments. We'll never have a perfect document. So additional delays, I'm not sure I understand why we would do additional delays. It's for the body as a whole to decide. It's not my decision. It's not your decision. But I do have a concern that we're dragging this thing out when I really do think we've got a really good base document here.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the comment back, Mayor, is that there are members of the committee who have what I'll call an unreadiness with the full level of opportunity for engagement. So I think what I'm hearing is we've got some people who think we've offered much opportunity already and probably heard the essence of what we're going to hear, and kind of have reservations about us hearing anything additional that we would fold into. On the other hand, we have people who don't feel like the public engagement opportunities have been quite as robust or all inclusive as they could have been. So there's a little bit of, I'll call it again, unreadiness or lack of confidence about what has transpired so far with the public engagement process. So those individuals are asking for one more opportunity just so that they can feel as if they have opened fully this process to the engagement. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. on the other side, that they're wanting a level of confidence that this committee has done all that it can to have heard the voices. So that's what I'm kind of hearing. And I guess where I would come down on it is it doesn't hurt us to do that as long as we are, getting through it in a timely manner. The fact that we don't have to go to TAC, which I did not realize, but I understand it, gives us a couple of extra weeks. And so, we could do it, and it doesn't, I don't think it hinders us at all. And then, as the commissioner said, that if he hears something that makes him think he should go back and revisit, he'll be ready to do that. But on the other hand, if he doesn't hear anything that makes him decide he needs to go back and revisit, then he goes forward with the MOU with a fuller level of confidence. And the same for Chair Patman, and recommending to their agencies that they're going back to their entities with a full level of confidence that they've done as much as possible to have heard. So
Madam Chair,
yes,
if I could ask just for the city of Houston's benefit and understanding, presumably this would be a virtual meeting?
yes, absolutely.
And it would be in the evening?
That hadn't been decided, but I guess it could be.
I'm just trying to know. I know we always are challenged about the way to reach the most folks, which is sometimes when we're engaged in a more lengthy process, we have several meetings at different venues at different times.
Right.
And I guess I'm sympathetic to the agenda and the deadlines, but wondering, if there's one final meeting, first of all, to do that in a way that doesn't disrupt our end goal and end game, to make sure that we're dealing with this expeditiously. We don't want to put it off. We want to embrace our constituents. Those of us need to feel very strongly about that, I believe, and I think it's in the interest of the entire project.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could just build off of the conversation. So certainly next week to go over any additional comments or commitments, from TxDOT. And then after that, the document could go to the parties for review. If we were to receive comments back from the different agencies, from their legal counsel, by the 1st of November, then we could compile all those comments, have an additional meeting, because there probably will be some comments from all the parties involved. There might be changes. We could have that final draft out to the committee that first week in November, a possible meeting that second week in November to go over the final draft. And perhaps that is the time to also have an evening meeting to go over the final document at that time, perhaps, because that way it's not just the commitments, but also anything that is going to need adjusting or additional conversation could happen. And that would be the closest we can get. That would still allow us to stay on target. And I think that we could make that happen. So there, in all likelihood, there's going to be some comment from all the parties involved as this comes back together beyond the commitments. And so we may need an additional meeting anyway. And then if we were to perhaps combine that meeting during the day and then an evening meeting to accommodate what's being proposed, that is something that could be done and still preserve the timeline. I'll just offer that up.
Okay.
And Chuck, typically we also present any item as an information item and an action item the following month. I don't know if you would like to take that similar approach and an information and action, or do we directly go to action? That is another, that could push our timelines as well. Chuck, you're muted.
Chuck, you're muted, yes.
Friend of mine has one of those gray parrots that live till they're 80, and he says the parrot has a new phrase, and everybody walks in the room, it says, "You're muted, you're on mute." It's adopted that after all these years. So
is that true, or is that a joke?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's not a joke. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Patrick, I mean, we can certainly talk about that as a group. I'm not sure what the benefit would be of taking it as an information item and then action, since the work group has been set up to work all these details out, and it would be issued in plenty of advance. I think that looking for action rather than information then action would be my preference. But
okay. All right.
I'm just saying we could figure out a way to make it work.
To make work. All right. So I think we have a plan. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay. If not, I think we know how we're going to move forward. We'll look for information on the meeting setup, really confirmation on the meeting setup next week. And everybody, keep your eyes on your devices so that you can pull up information as it rolls to us. And Ms. Paul has given all of us the assignment, those of us, must be like I do in class. All right, for those of you who haven't begun your readings yet, Ms. Paul has given us the entire FEIS as well as the position papers on all of the various areas. So we've got lots of reading to do, but I know we're ready and we're going to make it a great semester.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very
all
good.
right.
Agreed.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
It's a good day to be the tech guy.
Yeah. Because you don't have to read everything.
Right.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.